Howdy, Crucible comrades. Welcome to the third KeyForge video. Go ahead and dive right into it. We're looking at another Age of Ascension deck today. Our third one out of the box. I'm excited. There's a lot of news right now in KeyForge, as there is every time there's a video. The most recent thing happening for me is there was an update on the Game Found about the production of the adventure that the higher tiers of the Game Found are getting, the Gormgeist adventure. There's a lot of discussion about it. Some people feel one way, some people feel another. I'm just, as long as Ghost Galaxy sticks to their timetable, I'm just happy to get to play some KeyForge. Let's see what we're working with here. I keep doing this. Mars is the first house. Dis, love Dis, and Untamed. This will be interesting. Haven't been super lucky with my Age of Ascension Untamed decks recently. We're looking at Slyknife, the Phony of Plasma. I like that name. Look at this Archon. Big arms, wings, like a kind of halo head. Interesting, interesting. Okay, well, give me a moment. I'm going to break open this wrapper, and then we'll be right back with the card reveal. Alrighty, here we are with the card reveal section. Again, I'm pretty excited. The Gray Archon, it all looks interesting. These houses could have some interesting combos. It's a closer look at the Archon and its name there. Let's get into this. We're going to start setting the deck list off to the side here. Then we'll just go through one by one. Starting with Untamed. Very first card, Way of the Porcupine. I haven't seen this. I've seen a lot of the Way of the Bear in the past. Upgrade. This creature gains Hazardous 3. That's not bad. It's a great way to protect creatures. Panpaka Anga. A 5 power creature. Creatures to the right of Panpaka Anga get +2 power. Not bad. More creature protection. Ooh, Chota Hazari. This is probably my favorite Untamed key cheat. Or my favorite is KeyFrog, but the most effective is probably Chota Hazari. The recursion that comes with creatures, as well as it's just a play effect. You play it, you achieve it. The biggest issue with Chota Hazari is whether or not you can get it off the board to recur it. Get that effect going again. Tandalin, a tree creature, 9 power. Tandalin does 2 power when does 2 damage when fighting. Fight, discard a random card from your opponent's archives. It's really specific. I think it'd probably be better if it was just from hand, considering all the ways you get there, but not bad. Some disruption's always nice. Save the pack, destroy each damaged creature, gain 1 chain. Be interesting to see if we have any ways to proc damage. Ooh, regrowth. Okay, so if we can damage our own Chota Hazari so far, and then get it with Save the Pack, we could recur it with Regrowth. Go straight to hand. That could be pretty good. Persistence Hunting, another way to disturb the enemy board. Say action, play choose a house, exhaust each enemy creature of the chosen house. Marmoswarm's always nice. Little beast that gets more powerful as you have more amber. Nox I don't really like. Love the art. Love KeyForge creatures in general, but it's just 3 power creature, gets more powerful if you have more creatures on the board, essentially. Another key cheat, the action version of Chota Hazari. Is it? Yeah, Chota Hazari. The key charge action, play, lose 1 amber. If you do, you may forge a key. If we can find a way to kill our Chota Hazari and we have enough amber or ways to get amber down, we could theoretically make 3 keys in Untamed here. Oh my gosh. And then a way to recur key charge on a different turn. What is going on? Glimmer Alpha, return a card from your discard pile to your hand. 2 of those. What the heck? Let's hope we get some good play effects out of our Mars and Dis. Speaking of which, we are leaving Untamed. I don't think we had any rare cards in there. Going into Mars with the... Oh man, Ziphiz No Drone. Play, archive a card. You may purge an archived card to stun a creature. Interesting. Okay, well, let's hope we get like a collector worm or a way to hold on to our enemies. And here it is immediately. Wow. Okay, there's a lot of weird combo potential. I don't know that we have a great way to produce amber, which is really important considering that's how you win the game, but a lot of different cards are playing into each other really well here. We've got Ulix the Zookeeper, elusive, reap, put an enemy creature into your archives. If that creature leaves your archives, it is put into its owner's hand instead. Oh, interesting. Leaves your archives. So I guess archive a card, you may purge an archived card to stun a creature. This is an entering interaction. If you know by chance what the ruling with this would be, if I archive a creature with Zookeeper and then try and purge it with no drone, what takes effect? Is it purged before it can be moved to the owner's hand, or does it go to the owner's hand before the purge can take effect? Because it would leave to go to the purge. Interesting. Ooh, destroy them all. Destroy an artifact, a creature, and an upgrade. Some fantastic destroy. Love the destroy an artifact, especially since we didn't get the untamed return, reclaim by nature. The action that can destroy an artifact in untamed. We've got an artifact here, combat pheromones, Omni sacrifice combat pheromones. You may use up to 2 other Mars cards this turn. Pretty good outside of Mars. Could be good for the Zookeeper, removing other threats from the board. Oh man, these Mars names. Zixel? Yixlix? There we go. Yixlix Dominator? That sounds right. Taunt, enters play stunned, another great way to protect creatures. Combine that with the Paka-Anga and a couple other things, we can get great stuff going. Xanthix Harvester. I always feel really weird. This is great Amber generation. I'm glad that we have it. We do have a couple of Mars creatures, so again, fantastic way to boost Amber. Hopefully we get another Mars creature or 2. It's just, I feel like every time I've personally played this creature, I've ended up with it not next to Mars neighbors. Is that 2 cards there? No, just the 1. Visma Think Drone. Reap, you may archive a friendly creature or artifact from play. Okay, some interesting friendly recursion. It doesn't exactly combo great with our other Mars stuff. I need to check something here. I don't know if the, what was it? The Think Drone? No Drone. You may purge. Okay, so you do not have to. I was worried that maybe you had to purge. But you may purge. Just being able to archive a card is fine. It's got extra utility. Another Visma Think Drone. Not bad. Okay, so we've got a lot of Mars creatures. A lot of utility we can get out of them. Reap, return Sky Booster Squadron to your hand. Okay, I don't know that we have any good Sky Booster Squadron combos currently. But it's very nice if we need to kind of return it from its weird place in the battlefield. Maybe rearrange something. Mars Verse is a fantastic card. Ready and use a friendly Mars creature. A lot of Reap effects on our Mars. It's great having a card that gives us an Amber and then allows us to gain an Amber and proc one of those effects without having to worry about keeping them. Ooh, okay. Reap, if Glixel Proliferator is on a flank, archive a Mars card from your discard. We've got so much recursion in this deck. Let's hope that the Dis has got something crazy going on. With some play effects or some real disrupting stuff, because if we can just keep cycling Dis, or we just need, I think what we're really missing is the Amber game to take advantage of a lot of this stuff. Carpet Flotsam, if there are no friendly creatures in play, deal 4 damage to each creature. That's pretty good. We have a lot of ways to archive our creatures from play, so a lot of ways in Mars to kind of clear up our board, and of course it gives us an Amber, so can't go wrong there. And into Dis, we got a rare here, Nefru. Each time a creature is destroyed, its owner gains 1 Amber. Fantastic stuff. And we get to archive our creatures, make it so that the opponent can't destroy them, destroy theirs, hopefully. Destroy Nefru. Need something that can damage more creatures. Carpet Flotsam is interesting for the Save the Pack. I think we really need like a gateway to Dis or something in here that we can combo with Nefru immediately. Nefru definitely complicates things with archives and stuff. I love this creature though. Oh, and another rare in Dis. Fantastic. So we've got the Collar of Subordination. Upgrade. You control this creature. Ooh. And we could archive friendly creatures, so that's another way to get them in there to purge them with no drone. Tentacus, I have no idea what's going on. I think all 3 of the decks in this display have had Dis in them, and all 3 of them have had Tentacus. And it's an uncommon too, so it's not like it's expected that they show up in every deck, but you know, I'll take it, not a bad creature. Then we've got Life Ward here, an artifact. It's labeled as power. I never looked at that. I didn't see the power trait before. Omni, sacrifice Life Ward. Your opponent cannot play creatures during their next turn. Interesting. Ooh, okay. So good, Gongoozle is a good action. Play, deal 3 damage to a creature. If it is not destroyed, its owner discards a random card. So great for either destroying a target creature or getting them damaged, maybe for a future save the pack, while also disrupting their hand. Streak, while Streak is on a flank, is not on a flank rather. Your opponent refills their hand 1 less. Another way to disrupt that hand, we can get that hand size down and then discard something from it. It's a 2-power elusive. Not finished with you. Even more recursion. What is going on? We can get all the cards that we really want, or all the creatures rather, right back into our deck. 2 of those. Ooh, okay. This is some good Amber Gain. Dust Imp and Nefru work really well together. If I can kill Dust Imp on the same turn I play it, maybe with a Gongoozle, I could gain 3 Amber instead of 2 from Dust Imp's typical thing. Ooh, some much needed Amber control with Chirette. Play capture 3. Amber Imp, some more indirect Amber control after a creature reaps stun it. Not great for us. We have a lot of reap effects going on, and this can hit us as well. Even the rocks themselves suffer here. Some flavor text from Eldest Bear, the leader of Untamed. Interesting that in an Age of Ascension deck, Eldest Bear was mentioned. I don't think Eldest Bear existed as a card until Worlds Collide. Is that right? Because the leaders came out in Worlds Collide? So interesting seeing a comment like that this early. Gives me hope for things like Iona Demonologist and other things, to see that they had put flavor text in for a character that wouldn't come out until, was it 2 sets after this? Or maybe Worlds Collide was the very next set. I think it was the next set. Oh, and 2 Amber Imps. And that's how we're finishing it. Okay. Not bad. A lot of really weird combos here. I'm not sure how well it works together. The Amber Gain didn't seem huge, and it seems like a lot of the best combos kind of needed that Amber Gain to pop up before they popped off. But the theoretical triple key in Untamed is real promising. If I can just get Chota Hazari damaged, which I don't know that we had an in-house way to do that, but maybe the opponent has an autocannon or something. Just boosting up Amber on a Dis turn, maybe right before the opponent board wipes. I think it relies too much on other aspects of it, but that's neither here nor there. It looks interesting. We'll see what we're rocking with here. I'm not expecting the SAS to be too huge. We'll be right back with the deck breakdown. Here we are. The third part of the video today. Looking at the deck breakdown, I've got it all broken up into the usual 4 sections with the Amber control, expected Amber, artifact control, and creature control. Again, divvying up how I feel is most appropriate. Let's take a look at the SAS that it actually ended up getting right there. 58, that's not huge. In fact, it's rather small. The meta there is actually, I forget, it's almost all Amber control, I think. Yes, there's an additional 1, so a +1 from artifact control because of destroy them all, essentially. And then a -4 in Amber control because of this entire deck, 34 cards, we've got 2 cards that can affect the opponent's Amber. 2, and one of them is Tentacus, so it's 1. It's 1 really, but it's interesting. It's got a -2 in the anti-synergy section, which is essentially what I expected it to be. Stuff like Amber Imp and Carpet Flotsam benefit or is detracting from the amount of creatures that we control. In fact, here is the extras and counts there. We're looking at a whopping 22 creatures, which is a lot of creatures typically, or a lot more than are typically in a deck. The Amber Imp and the Carpet Flotsam immediately detract from that, because the more creatures you have, the more you kind of suffer from those effects. The inability to do that, or the stunning your creatures with Amber Imp, as well as there's anti-synergy in the 2 Glimmers, both being alpha, and the Chota Hazari and the KeyCharge, because they both forge a key, and you're not going to be able to do that very often. More anti-synergy comes from the low expected Amber, sitting at a total of 18, but 10 of that 18 comes from the bonus Amber pips that you see there. So there's 8 possible generated Amber, and it's not very consistent. So not a great way to pop off those untamed plays. If there was more synergy coming out of Untamed and the other houses with maybe less creatures and more Amber gain, we could do some really interesting stuff, but it's not what we ended up with. Then the artifact control is decent, and the creature control sitting at a 9.2 isn't very high. But we're going to get into that in a second. So SAS and counts, double key cheats, interesting. There were 2 upgrades in there with the Collar of Subordination and the Way of the Porcupine, and then 2 artifacts being Life Ward and Combat Pheromones, which is nice. I think both of those are Omni, unless Life Ward requires you to be in-house. No, it doesn't. So they're both Omni. So all in all, and then of course the 4 archiving there comes from Mars. But let's get that out of here. We'll go into our Amber and Control section right there. So a whopping 1.7 Amber Control. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Tentacus being here. Tentacus also in artifact control, but again actively works against it because Tentacus doesn't work if the opponent doesn't have artifacts. And then Charette. Play Capture 3. They're fine. Not great when it's just them, but what are you gonna do? Not bad cards. Then we're looking at the expected Amber here, sitting at 18. None of our piles are gonna be that steep. A lot of cards didn't really make the cut. They didn't achieve much in the deck. Our lowest expected Amber card here is the Xanthix Harvester. Again, Reap Gain 2 is awesome. But the fact that it just can't be used, period, when it's next to something that isn't Martian. We have a lot of Mars creatures, but we also just have a lot of creatures. So it's worrying that this creature very often, when we end up in split house hands, won't be able to achieve much. Then there is Nefru. Nefru's great, but we don't have a lot of ways to destroy our own creatures. We can archive some friendly creatures. We can archive enemy creatures if we can keep Nefru on the board to prevent them from being usable in or gaining Amber. Sorry, to prevent the opponent from gaining Amber from them being destroyed. They're just going to archives instead. But it's very two-sided, and our only board wipe is Save the Pack, but we don't have any great ways to do damage. So Nefru's inconsistent in this deck. Then Mars First is another expected Amber. One of that comes from its bonus icon, but the other one comes from just the ready and use of a friendly Mars creature. I considered not putting it in here, but I think the fact that almost all of the Mars creatures are Reap effects, then you can get some benefit off of this. If we can get that with the Xanthix Harvester, that'd be awesome. So when we play Xanthix, we can make sure it's next to Mars creatures, and then we can ready and use it, and that would be 3 Amber in that one play. Combat Pheromones is in here because it's got an expected Amber, and then you can sacrifice it to use 2 other Mars cards. We don't have any Mars cards that are usable outside of creatures, so we would just reap with 2 more creatures. And then Dust Imp with the destroyed gain 2 Amber. Again, not a great way to destroy Dust Imp of our own volition, but still 2 Amber is not bad. especially if Nefru is on the board. Would be a fantastic way to gain 3 amber there. Then we're here in our artifact control. 1.9 Tentacus was in here, but again, they kind of work against each other in a really weird way. So destroy them all is great. Destroy an artifact, a creature, and an upgrade. I actually really like the fact that it doesn't say enemy. A lot of the time that can kind of catch you up because you have to do it. So if you have one of your creatures, your opponent has no creatures, you can't destroy an artifact. You have to destroy an artifact and one of your creatures in that specific scenario. But I think with Nefru, with Dust Imp, and Xanthic Harvester, there's a lot of creatures on my board that I wouldn't mind getting rid of. So this is a great way to do that if we can set up with a dis turn earlier. And destroying an upgrade is interesting too, because then we can destroy an upgrade on a creature that maybe is only valuable because of the upgrade and then hit a different creature. I really like the way that it splits it up. Destroy them all is an interesting name in that it kind of hits all of the, they're not called traits, but the different things that a card can be, as opposed to destroy them all in the like board wipe sense. It's got some really interesting interesting art, the UFO with the laser. And then finally our last section here is the creature control. Starting off with Carpet Flotsam, again, going to be pretty hard to achieve with how many creatures we have, but there are some interesting ways in Mars to archive friendly creatures, so you never know. Then we've got Ziphiz. I don't think I'll ever say this right, but the No Drone. With play, archive a card, which of course you would probably choose an enemy creature. You may purge a card from your archives to stun a creature, which, it's not archive a card from play. So this would be archive from hand, and then I think it has to be from hand when the wording is like that. I think it specifies play when you can do it from play. And then you may purge an archive card to stun a creature. I assume, again, that's only interacting with your archives, but in those instances, it's great because we have a couple of other cards that can just archive enemy creatures. Gongoozle, I really like this card. Deal 3 damage to a creature. If it's not destroyed, its owner discards cards. A little bit of disruption, or just flat out damage. We can get Save the Pack to follow this up, so maybe we can get them to discard something by hitting a big creature and then just full destroy the creature. Its flavor text says, just trying to understand these things gives me a headache. Alrighty, next card here. Persistence Hunting. Choose a house. Exhaust each enemy creature of the chosen house. I like that it says enemy. I think if you had to choose a house and exhaust all creatures of that house, this card would be much, much worse. Probably not even worth playing. But it's got the Amber Pip on it, so it's always good to throw out there. And exhausting is nice, especially since this is pre-Unfathomable Times. I'm sure this is one of the very few cards that can actually exhaust things out of house. Save the Pack. I've been bringing this up a lot. Destroy each damaged creature. It could proc on our own creatures, but if we have, a Nefru on board and a way to damage our own creatures, or maybe some of our creatures are damaged via an opponent's ability, this would be a great way to gain that amber. Color of Subordination is fantastic. You control this creature. It's a great thing to combo with Nefru, because we can take it, so we'll gain the amber when it's destroyed. Take whatever creature, and then Nefru will give us amber when that creature is destroyed. It's also just fantastic in general. Create some really weird scenarios with different cards. Good upgrade. And if we need to, we can destroy it with Destroy Them All. And then lastly, our Zookeeper, our way of putting an enemy creature into our archives. It's pretty good. It's not bad. I love the combo with No Drone. I haven't seen that before, I don't think, but as our strongest creature control. So again, nothing, super to write home about, but it's always interesting breaking down one of these decks. I think that the theoretical combos in it are very, very awesome. I wish that they could have come to fruition a little bit more, but it's not bad. It creates promise for this house combo in maybe another Age of Ascension deck I haven't opened yet or something like that. So let's get that out of here. The last thing that we're going to look at here is the speed and board right down there in the corner. There's nothing super crazy going on with it. Board strength isn't very high despite the sheer number of creatures that we had. No negative effects on the board, just aside from like Zixlik's Dominator, they all weren't super powerful. We've got a little bit of speed from the no drone, in just that it's a play effect that can archive a creature, or, you know, purge one of our own cards should we choose. We've got a bad card that we got into our archives somehow. Then, of course, our recursion is pretty high. In fact, I wanted to make that a little honorable mention here. I've got all the recursion cards set aside. There was a lot of recursion. It's nothing crazy, but if we were able to achieve more with it, I think that there would be a lot of ways to pull some key elements out of this deck. So we've got the double Not Finished With You, the double Glimmer, a regrowth, and then the Glixel Proliferator, which is a way to archive Mars cards in our discard. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that we could pull out, and I think that there's a lot of good targets for those things as well. It's just, those good targets don't get us any closer to keys. Then we do have a bit of board protection with our Panpaka Ango, Way of the Porcupine, and the Yixlik's Dominator. Sorry, I have to pause every time I say that. Then in the Disruption, we've got stuff like Life Ward, Streak, Tandalin and Gongoozle. Life Ward making it so that they can't play creatures, Streak lowering their hand size. Tandalin, a really awkward way of getting them to discard a card, and then same with Gongoozle, discard. And I'm not sure exactly what puts us into other. It's just, I guess, cards that affect your board but aren't protecting or raising its power necessarily. So stuff like Key Charge, Chota Hazari, and Color of Subordination are in there. I'm not sure why they ended up... I'm not sure what the prerequisite for them being an other is. I guess every card just has a place, and that's where the cards that haven't ended up in one of the previous categories goes. But all in all, it's not a bad deck. It could pull off some things. You know, if you give me a couple turns to set up, my opponent's not fighting back too hard, I could purge some of my bad cards, hold on to some of theirs, make some moves with it. I think the house combo is really interesting, really promising. I keep getting really bad, or not really bad, but not great Untamed pods. So I'm wondering if maybe that means I've got a fantastic, you know, Dusk Witch, Hunting Witch, Untamed pod coming in my future. With all the Untamed that I've opened recently being not that actionable. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I've got a couple of different ideas brewing for future videos and future things going on. I really like the way that things are going. I love your interaction. Again, I feel like I say this every video, or at least the 3 that I've done so far, but it's just so nice to see you guys, and I can't wait. One thing that I didn't mention at the beginning of the video is that someone in one of our local KeyForge scenes actually just found, before it's been announced, this is probably a week or 2 before any official announcement, that the first Vault Tour is going to be up and operating at the end of June, somewhere in Ohio, I believe it was. So I will likely go out there. So if you guys plan on going out to that Vault Tour, I'll probably end up seeing you there. A buddy of mine and I are planning to make the trip somehow. So I'm super excited for that. And again, I've got a lot more content on the way. Keep your eyes peeled. And as a good friend, Zach Armstrong always says, don't forget the most important part of KeyForge is the person sitting across the table. You guys have a great day.